Hello all, and thank you for joining us this Sunday to explore Animal Adventures Live, a members-only event. I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet as you're probably eager to get on with this virtual tour. I want to thank you for your continual support during this time, and we look forward to welcoming you back to the museum. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Shauna, who will be guiding you through Animal Adventures Live. Hello, Shauna.
Caitlin and Anya too. And hello. I'm so excited to be here. Hello to everyone out there. I'm very excited to be here in the museum galleries, and I'm glad to see so many people joining us today, so many members. I'm very excited to take you on an animal adventure today. Just a couple things. My friend Rachel is going to be following me along for the adventure, filming at a safe distance, and also, you can ask questions, or if you have anything, you can interact in the chat today, and you'll be relaying those questions to me sometimes. So I'm very excited. So I'm going to get started. I actually was going to start at a different place in the museum. However, something very exciting about today is I was very excited to receive in advance some of your member questions and requests. And so I actually changed my mind. I'm starting in this gallery first, the Earth History Gallery, because I got quite a few requests about dinosaurs. And so that's where I'm going to start. Dinosaurs were animals, right? A lot of times people think of dinosaurs as sort of monsters or even mythical creatures. You know, you watch the movies, everything else, but I'm glad you guys are members that you know that dinosaurs were animals. It's just that they lived a really long time ago. So I will spend some time in here as well. And I'm starting right in front of a replica of a dinosaur. If you've been here many times before, you've seen this, of course. This is a hadrosaur, and it's a replica. The original fossil for this is in the Royal Ontario Museum. But this is a Parasaurolophus, and hadrosaurs are the group of dinosaurs that had the big crests on their head, and they were herbivores. So this is a fascinating replica, and it really highlights a sort of feature here in our Earth History Gallery. But I'm wondering if members today did their homework. Did you watch my videos? If you did, if you didn't, that's okay. You can watch them later. But if you did watch my video, you will know that in Manitoba, we don't find dinosaur fossils. Canada finds a lot of dinosaurs out in the province of Alberta or Saskatchewan. But during the Cretaceous period, when the dinosaurs were alive, if you watch my video, you'll know that Manitoba was actually under ocean. It was a Cretaceous seaway. And that's actually, we're gonna head to a diorama next that is the Cretaceous seaway, but also a member request is in that Cretaceous seaway. So follow me this way. Now we're gonna pass what you saw in the video, the pliosaurs, of course, and the plesiosaurs. But I just wanted to come to this little mini diorama, which I also showed in the video. Of course, from the video, you'll see a mosasaur and we see a plesiosaur. So these were marine reptiles that were swimming in the ocean, the Cretaceous seaway that was covering Manitoba during the Cretaceous period. But I decided to make a special stop here because one of our members, Erin, said that her son really loves sea turtles. And I thought to myself, where in the world in the galleries do we have a sea turtle? Well, right in this Cretaceous diorama, which is fascinating because sea turtles are ancient creatures, right? They were swimming on Earth when the plesiosaurs and the mosasaurs were swimming on Earth, but sea turtles did not go extinct. And many animals that were alive at the time of the dinosaurs did not go extinct like the dinosaurs did. So we've got a sea turtle there for you, Erin. Also, we'll see a shark here too. Sharks are also ancient creatures. They're fish swimming around in the ocean when the dinosaurs were alive too. Now, I'm gonna show you something else right now that is not a dinosaur, but it's one of my favorite things in the museum. Follow me this way. And I know that many of you have seen this replica when you visited with us. When I was a little girl, and many of our visitors, when they come to our museum, they always think this is a dinosaur, right? Maybe it's the way that it's standing, who knows? But it's your mission as members to spread the word that this is not a dinosaur. This is actually an Ice Age mammal. So about 10 to 20,000 years ago, the world was in an ice age, including Manitoba. And during the Ice Age, this was the time that mammals, animals with hair or fur, did very well and they got big. So you know those Ice Age cartoon movies? All those animals did exist. So this is actually a giant sloth, Megatherium. If you look at its teeth real close next time you come to visit, you'll see its teeth are actually very clearly herbivore teeth. They ate plants. So their favorite food was avocados, actually, at the time the giant sloths lived. So again, this is Megatherium, giant ground sloth, just one of my favorites too, but it's not a dinosaur. So we're gonna head into another gallery next, and we're gonna be seeing right away another member request. But as I head into the gallery, because it's a bit of a walk to the Arctic Gallery, I believe my friend Caitlin, our membership coordinator, is gonna join us again and tell you members some more information that you need to know.
Hello, I hope you all are enjoying the tour thus far. As Shauna moves to the next point in the museum, I think it's a good time to discuss some housekeeping items. On June 6th and 7th, the museum will reopen again for members only. For more information on planning your first visit back to the museum, please go to our visit section on our website at manitobamuseum.ca. You also may be wondering, how does the museum closure affect your annual membership? As you've been unable to visit since we closed our doors on March 14th, we've extended your membership by the length of time our closure has overlapped with your term. Your extension date will begin on June 6th. Please visit our website and feel free to contact us for any more information about extensions and how it will affect your expiry date. Now I'm just going to hand it back over to Shauna.
Hi there. Thanks, Caitlin, for all that information. Yes, everyone's real excited for next weekend when we're opening just for members. So spread the word if you know someone who wants to come visit us, member, and then they can come visit us next weekend. It's very exciting. Zoom, just like that. We're in the Arctic Subarctic Gallery. And I brought us to this particular diorama because one of the members out there requested, they said they were a huge fan of Arctic fox. And so in this diorama, we do have an Arctic fox, as well as what it preys upon. And we also have a snowy owl in this diorama as well. So Arctic fox are really cool animals. Of course, what's really neat about them is their thick white winter coat that grows. It's very, very soft. And the neat thing is they grow this coat in winter. As you can imagine, that white thick coat camouflages very nicely in the snow and allows them to hunt their prey. In this case, the prey is a lemming, but little rodents, it helps them to camouflage while they're hunting their favorite food. Arctic fox, though, are also notorious scavengers. That means they will eat carcasses of prey left behind by other animals. Most significantly, the polar bear. Arctic fox are known for following polar bear at a very safe distance. You don't want to get too close to a polar bear, especially the males. Arctic fox will kind of trail along at a safe distance behind the polar bear, and what they're doing is they're waiting to pick up the scraps that the polar bear left behind. So they're quite known for that. So Arctic fox are really cool. If you ever do get a chance to see them, for example, if you go to Assiniboine Park Zoo, it's neat to see them in spring because they don't keep their white coat all year round. In the spring, they'll start to lose their coat, and what will happen is the white fur will start coming off in chunks. And then they have a nice brownish gray undercoat in the spring and summer. And that also helps them camouflage quite nicely with their home in the spring and summer. It sort of camouflages with the vegetation there. All right, we're gonna keep moving on through the Arctic Gallery because the next gallery we're gonna visit is my personal favorite gallery. I think I told you in one of my videos what it is, but it turns out it's a lot of your favorite gallery too. So that coincides nicely, the Boreal Forest Gallery. We're gonna walk past the caribou to get there, so follow me. Now, as we pass the caribou, this diorama, these are barren ground caribou, and they're actually known for their migration. So in this diorama, they are actually doing a migration in the fall down to the Boreal Forest. So we're gonna follow where the caribou are going and head into the Boreal Forest Gallery. Boreal Forest is my personal favorite place to go in the summertime. I'm very excited that summer is coming, and hopefully I'll get a chance to head into the Boreal Forest. And that's probably why this gallery is my favorite, because even in the winter, in January, when I come to work, sometimes I have a very powerful imagination and I can pretend it's summertime. Okay, just at the entrance, I wanted to pause because you're all members. I wanted to pause and tell you something else neat about this gallery. So this rock is clearly fake rock. Okay, next time you come, you can do it. Just do it gently, okay? It's clearly fake rock, but guess what? When I was a little girl in the 1980s, that's when they made this gallery, the museum, and the museum staff, they actually went up into the Whiteshell area, north of the Whiteshell actually, and they literally made a plaster cast of a real rock cliff that is still up there. And so this gallery is an exact copy of a real place in northern Manitoba. And I just think that is amazing. And so as you walk through the gallery, it really does feel real, doesn't it? It always does to me. But I also love this gallery because there are so many animals to see in this gallery. Probably most significant that kind of stands out when you first walk in is the moose, right? So here we have the moose. We've got the male standing up on the rock, and we know he's a male because of the big set of antlers. But we also have on this side of the diorama, the female and her calf. So her baby, the juvenile. Now, there are so many animals hiding, camouflaged in this diorama. And that's half the fun with visiting this gallery, is trying to spot the animals, isn't it? Well, I want to point out one right now, and I'm just going to point with my finger. My friend Rachel is going to pan up to this very well camouflaged animal that is perched high up on the rock. And that animal is Manitoba's provincial bird. Now notice I'm not saying the name of the bird. That's because I want you to tell me. So if you all know what this bird is perched up on the rock, it's Manitoba's provincial bird. Can you please type it in the chat? If you know, or if you have a guess, type it in the chat. What is Manitoba's provincial bird up there on the rock? And maybe Anya can let me know if someone knows the name of Manitoba's provincial bird that is perched so nicely up there in our gallery, very well camouflaged. All right, I think so.
Hi, Shauna.
Yes.
Yes, Liam has it. He says it's a great gray owl.
Awesome, Liam, you got it. That is the great gray owl, Manitoba's provincial bird. That is awesome. I love it because it's always hiding up there and it's a little hard to see. There is another owl in this gallery though that I always call that little cute owl perched on the rock. If you've ever wondered, I mean on the tree stump, if you've ever wondered what that cute little owl is, that is a boreal owl. I'm going to, we're going to move to the other side of the diorama here, and there are some other neat animals to see. This one's a little hard to see, but we're going to try, Rachel, because even Rachel, when I told her, she said, what? I can't see it. So we're going to try. Have you ever noticed this little tiny weasel in the diorama? This little white weasel. We can sort of see it. It's hiding behind the tree. That's an ermine, and also called a stoat. It is in the weasel family. Something neat about them is at one point here in Canada for the fur trade, the ermine's coat was very, very valuable. And who was it valuable to? Royalty in Europe. They used to like to have ermine furs along their collars. It was very fashionable on their coats or on their cloaks to have these ermine collars. But whenever I see it, I just see this cute little weasel that's hiding behind the tree. I wanted to take a moment. I know our adventure today is all about animals, but since we're in the Boreal Forest Gallery and a lot of you, it's your favorite gallery, I just wanted to take a moment to talk about the plants that are in our dioramas, including in this gallery. So the plants that you see in our dioramas are real, but they're not alive. And so what happens is when they decide to build a diorama here at the museum, our botanist, Dr. Diana Robson, she will go into nature with a permit and she'll collect a plant that she needs for the diorama. She'll bring it back here to the museum and she brings it up to her lab and she dips it into a preservative. And Diana tells me her special preservative is kind of like a pickle juice. And by preservative, I mean that will make the plant last for like 30 years in the diorama. The thing is, her pickle juice will often take the color away from the plant, but especially any leaves, it'll kind of suck the color away, but it preserves the plant. So then what happens? The museum artists move in and they hand paint every leaf, every blade of grass, every needle that you see in our dioramas. So it is quite a bit of work, as you can well imagine. It took about 4 years start to finish to construct this diorama. And just recently I learned, and since you're members and you're quite familiar with a lot of our dioramas, have you ever noticed that most of our dioramas take place in the season of fall or autumn? And that's because Diana tells me it's a lot less green to paint. It's a lot of work to paint all that leaf matter, and it would be very difficult to get an accurate color of green, and a lot of work. So a lot of our dioramas do take place in the fall time for that reason. We're going to keep moving along. I want to show you this bird right here. Perched up in our gallery on this stump here is a bird called an American kestrel. Kestrels are birds of prey. That means that they eat other birds, usually songbirds. But what's kind of neat is if you have a kestrel in your neighborhood or where you live, or a pair of them, if they come into your area, all the songbirds will usually go silent. It's like you'll hear birds singing, and suddenly if all the songbirds go silent, usually there's a bird of prey around, and that's the case with the little kestrel as well. Now, this is real water. I know you guys know that. That's the number one question I get from kids. Is it real water? It is real water. But check it out. Of course, super cool, the river otter. Now, river otters have sharp teeth. They're carnivores, right? And river otters are amazing. They hang out by streams. They will swim in the river. I actually saw one in the Red River just last month. They mainly eat crustaceans, so they love to eat crayfish, little creatures with shells on them like clams, but they also will eat fish. And they are very adept at catching both of those things, and they can move very, very quickly. All right, maybe before I move on, I'll take a moment here. Are there any questions that anybody has about the gallery, or if there's anything in the chat? Should I keep going? Because my next stop is, we're getting closer to another member request. Am I good to go? Okay, let's go. So we're gonna be heading next into what we call the boreal corridor. The boreal corridor is actually a fairly new corridor, very new actually, in our museum. Some of you may have seen it, it's fairly new. But I like to call this corridor sometimes the beaver corridor because it's highlighting the beaver as an important animal for our ecosystem. The beaver is something called a keystone species. And what that means is the beaver actually creates a whole new habitat because of its behavior. And behind me here is a beautiful specimen of a beaver doing what beavers like to do best, swimming, first of all, but also with a stick in its mouth. Beavers eat the bark of trees, just like the porcupine does actually, but they build a dam because beavers, they will build a dam because they want the land to flood. And I'll ask Rachel, like I did before, at this point, just to step back a little because maybe you can see the beautiful mural that is created behind. Dr. Randy Moy, my friend, the zoologist, has curated this hallway. And I love that he's done this big mural because you see the beaver creates a whole new habitat, but the beaver doesn't really care about that. The beaver does that for its own purposes. The beaver wants the land to flood so that it can swim because it's a better swimmer than it is walking on land. And so it simply wants the land to flood so it can swim from tree to tree and get its food more easily. Also, then it can make the entrance of its beaver lodge under the water, which keeps it safe from the wolf. So those are the reasons the beaver does what it does. However, the consequence is, right, it creates this beautiful wetland habitat, and this corridor is just filled with some of the animals that can live in the wetlands that the beaver creates. So the beaver is such an important animal for that reason. Now we're gonna keep making our way. We're gonna see, probably, you know, is one of my favorites, but also a member request. So we're gonna make our way through the corridor, up the ramp. And when I say up the ramp, maybe that's a clue to some of you who did get a chance to watch the videos I made. You probably have a very good guess at what animal we're gonna see that is up the ramp. By the way, if you haven't seen those videos yet, don't worry, you can always check them out afterwards because we are heading to one of my favorite animals. Now, I do have a lot of favorite animals, it's true. I'm guessing that a lot of you are animal fans. Isn't it hard to pick a favorite? But somehow you do manage to pick out a few favorites. So of course, everyone waved to the porcupine. But it brought us to the spot so that we could all say hello to the porcupine. Again, you can see it's eating bark just like the beaver did. But I'm gonna stand near the porcupine here to talk about another member request that I got in, which really kind of touched my heart, in that I don't know if a member named Stephanie is out there in the audience today, but Stephanie sent me a message with her registration. She had a question. She wanted to know if our galleries had any groundhogs and whether we had them in the collection or not. And why this really touched my heart is because groundhogs, also known as woodchucks, are also one of my favorite animals. And I said, I can't believe she asked about woodchucks. I love woodchucks. So groundhogs are also called woodchucks. They also have a really funny nickname called a whistle pig. I've never called it a whistle pig. So every year on Groundhog Day, I go around telling everybody, Happy Woodchuck Day, because I love woodchucks. Now, we don't have any woodchucks in our museum galleries. I knew that. And I believe Anya has put up a picture that I have here for those of you who are wondering about woodchucks. But I asked Dr. Randy the other day when I was chatting with him, and he got very excited too, because he also is a woodchuck fan. And he said, we do have woodchucks in our collection, in our museum collection, but not any taxidermy specimens and not here in the gallery. So woodchucks live in Manitoba. They often live in grassy areas, but not just that, in the boreal forest as well. A couple neat things about woodchucks is they're one of the largest true hibernators. So you've heard of animals that hibernate in the winter. A lot of animals, they hibernate, but their temperature just goes down a few degrees. Woodchucks will actually go underground. They build big burrows, and they will roll into a lifeless ball, and they truly hibernate in that their heartbeat goes down from 75 heartbeats a minute to 4. And their body temperature is the same as the air around them. And so they truly hibernate. Now, Stephanie also asked me another question about woodchucks. She wanted to know what to do if you want to encourage them. And this is very interesting because Stephanie also says most people think of woodchucks as pests. The reason why is woodchucks tend to eat people's gardens up. Because they truly hibernate, woodchucks need a lot of energy. They have to eat a lot, and I guess they will get into people's gardens. There was even a video on YouTube not long ago of a woodchuck eating pizza. Woodchucks do not eat pizza. But if you want to encourage it, Stephanie, you can simply plant some of the things that woodchucks love, like clover, alfalfa. If you want to plant a garden for the woodchuck, you could plant lettuce, carrots, peas, and beans. Last but not least, Stephanie, and this is just for you, I have seen a woodchuck in Manitoba 2 times. Once at Fort Wright, a live nature center, coming out from under the deck. The second time was at Big Whiteshell Lake. My daughter and I, we were standing and we looked at this rock cliff, and this creature came out from a hole in the rock cliff. And I sort of stood frozen in wonder because I said, what is that? And I finally figured out, oh my goodness, it's a woodchuck. And we were so excited that we wrote a little song about woodchucks, which I'm going to share with you right now, and I hope everyone likes it. I told you I like woodchucks. You guys ready? Okay, here we go. This one's for you, Stephanie. Woodchuck, woodchuck, I can't believe my luck. Woodchuck, woodchuck, rolling in the muck. We don't really care if you're a boy or a girl. All we really know is that you're a big squirrel. Woodchuck, I love you. Thank you very much, Stephanie. That one's for you. All right, on to our next member request. Here we go. I hope everybody loves that song. If you see a woodchuck, you'll know what I mean. All right. So our next animal that we're going to visit is also a member request from Alex. And I believe maybe Alex might be on our call today. That would be the lynx. I actually had a few requests for lynx today, and I don't often stop at the lynx, so I'm very happy and excited to stop there. In this diorama, we have a Canadian lynx feeding on its very favorite prey, the snowshoe hare. So lynx are very closely tied to snowshoe hare for prey. And what I mean by that is pretty much 70 to 90% of the lynx's diet is the snowshoe hare. So their population is tied very closely to the hare's population. So if the snowshoe hare, for 1 year, there's not very many of them, then the lynx population is affected as well. And the snowshoe hare population crashes about every 10 years, and then the lynx population crashes at the same time. So they're closely tied. But some really neat things about lynxes, their feet, right? Their feet, they have huge paws with pads on them, and they're very circular and large. And these basically function as snowshoes for the lynx. So they can easily move across the snow with these big sort of natural snowshoes to be able to hunt their prey. They usually hunt at night because snowshoe hare are nocturnal, so lynx will do that as well. Just another feature, they got the little short tail with either brown or black at the end of the tail. And they have these long, cool tufts of hair on their ears. Scientists are still trying to figure out, they have different theories as to why they have these tufts of hair. Some of them have to do with hearing. Other scientists, biologists think that maybe those tufts of hair serve almost like whiskers do. You know, whiskers on cats often tell the cat when they're going through a hole how big the hole is, and they think that when the lynx is moving, maybe those tufts, those long tufts act kind of like whiskers to see how high, when they're going through holes, how high things are. So thank you very much for you guys for requesting the lynx, because it's really neat to stop here at this diorama. And the lynx also happens to be very close to one of my favorite secret doors. That's right. I, of course, have to show you guys, your members, some of the secret doors in the museum. When I show you these secret doors, you are actually welcome to use them too. This secret door that we're going to head through, it's a door that takes us from one gallery to another, is actually the door that takes us from the boreal forest, one of my favorite places in summer, to my other favorite place in summer, the parklands, places like Riding Mountain National Park. So we're going to take this secret door. Rachel can make it through too. Awesome. And look at this. Takes us to a whole nother world. Places like Riding Mountain National Park, the Parklands region, Manitoba, one of my other favorite places to be, of course. Now, there are so many awesome animals. We call this our diversity tree. We see many different species of animals in here. Of course, you can't miss that big raccoon that's looking at us in the tree. But I was going to point out this snapping turtle, because again, I had a couple requests for turtles, and the snapping, Manitoba only has two species of turtles, and this is one of them here, the snapping turtle. And it is an aquatic freshwater turtle, not a sea turtle, but you'll see them swimming in lakes in Manitoba, especially in the whiteshell. You don't need to worry about them. Don't worry, snapping turtles are not interested really in biting you or eating you. However, of course not, right? They eat things that live in the water. But if you come across one on land, they can be aggressive, like they'll want to protect themselves, right? And just note that they can stretch their necks out quite a bit and bite you if they feel threatened. So if you see a snapping turtle, just leave it alone. Don't attempt to, you know, interact with the snapping turtle at all, because they can really move their neck out far, and they can actually snap their head back if they feel threatened. So basically, you don't want to get too close to snapping turtles, but you don't need to worry about them. But I think I would like to talk about this animal right here. Before I talk about this little bird that's in the tree, maybe I'll check with our audience out there. Is this group out there okay with kind of gross but true nature stories? And Anya, once again, maybe you'll let me know in the chat if this group is okay with kind of gross but true nature stories. Yes, okay, Anya says yes, that's awesome, because it's time for one. And so beside me here, what we're gonna show you is this plant. It looks like a bare plant with not many leaves on it. This is a hawthorn plant, and it has thorns, but the animal we're talking about is this little gray and black bird called the northern shrike that is sitting on the hawthorn plant. And so if you take a look at this northern shrike, if you look closely at its beak, you may be able to see that it has a grasshopper in its beak. And so that's what northern shrikes do. They'll eat these grasshoppers. But if you take another look back at the hawthorn tree, you may be able to find more grasshoppers. Not sure if you guys are able to see that. I hope that you can see that there are a few more grasshoppers on this hawthorn plant. They have been stuck on to the thorns. Now, why does the northern shrike do that? Why does it stick those grasshoppers onto those thorns? Well, one theory might be to kill the grasshoppers, but the actual real reason is he's trying to find a mate or a girlfriend. And I can confidently say he, because male northern shrikes, it's like they will stick the grasshoppers on, make a big display, and it's like, hey girl northern shrikes, look at me, look how good I am at catching grasshoppers. And the northern shrike that has the biggest display will usually get the mate. Now, I didn't tell you the gross part yet. Northern shrikes don't just eat grasshoppers, they will eat mice, voles, and so they'll do the same thing. It's kind of gross because it's a little more blood, and yes, I have seen it in real life in the wild. Now, that's nature though, right? Animals gotta eat. I recently discovered that they actually aren't killing the animals that way, like sticking them on the spikes. The northern shrike's beak is quite sharp. It'll actually kill the animal first, like a little mouse, but their talons, their feet, are perching feet. And if they kill an animal that's kind of too heavy for them, then they stick it onto the hawthorn plant, kind of like a shish kebab, so that it can have the animal sitting there, and then it makes their eating easier. So they'll stick their dead prey onto the hawthorn, actually, just to make eating that animal a little easier. So that's nature for you. Might not be gross, might be kind of gross to us, but it certainly isn't to the northern shrike, and it's a pretty good strategy, isn't it? All right, we're gonna head to the other side of the diversity tree, because I thought, since Alex, for example, likes lynx, he might also like bobcats, right? And a lot of questions I get, sometimes when I bring people to the bobcat, they mistaken them for lynx. So we'll just talk about a couple differences between them. Bobcats also live in Manitoba, but if you look at the bobcat's paws, they are smaller and they're not so much like snowshoes as the lynx. And that's because bobcat, they're not tied to just eating the snowshoe hare. So they can eat a variety. Their diet is much more varied. They can eat small rodents, different kinds of animals, and they live a little further south in some cases than the lynx, and they are tending to be a little bit smaller. But another thing you can look at is their tail. Their tail has black on the end like the lynx, but their tail will also have bands around it, and their fur tends to be a little more spotted as well. But nonetheless, another magnificent cat that lives here in the province of Manitoba. All right, and maybe I'll pause right here too in case there is any questions, because I know we have so many animals here in the diversity tree, and maybe there are some other questions that anyone has out there today. Oh, and okay. All right, then we'll keep going. Again, thank you very much, Alex. That was awesome. I'm glad that you asked about lynx, and hope we had some fun visiting the bobcat too. So let's keep going. I'm gonna bring you to another one of my favorite places. And I'm sure if you guys are members that you are probably excited about visiting the next couple stops that I do, because they're pretty popular spots in our museum. And today is the last day of May. The next stop that I'm going to is a place that you would definitely normally love to head out and visit in the month of May. And of course, what I'm going to talk about, some of you even know where I'm going here, right? The snake den, absolutely. Our snake diorama. So our snake diorama is an exact copy of a real place in Manitoba, the Narcisse snake dens. This year they were closed, but normally in the month of May is the best time to go up and visit this awesome place. I just love going up there. Our diorama here, our snakes are not real. They sure look real though, don't they? Our diorama artist, Betsy, made these snakes out of clay. She did an absolutely phenomenal job because they do look very real. Those of you who've been out to Narcisse know that this is pretty realistic. Like, it looks pretty much exactly like this, except for the snakes are moving in real life. The kind of snakes that we have here are garter snakes, a lot of red-sided garter snakes. And what they're doing at this time of year and in our diorama is they are also looking for a mate. So the snakes hibernate in the limestone, in the cracks there in the limestone all winter. And in the month of May, they come out and they're actively looking for a mate. It's one of the largest gathering of snakes in the world, actually, here in Manitoba, and it's quite famous. Now, a few other things about this diorama. If you look up in the tree, you probably may or may have not noticed before this crow sitting here. Can you guess what the crow is doing? Since I'm having so much fun interacting with the chat today, I'm just wondering, does anyone know why is the crow up there? Any guesses? Well, we might have one guess. He's waiting for a tasty bite of snake. He's waiting to eat a snake, right? Yes, true. But notice I said bite of snake. Crows out at Narcisse are known, I've been told by a guide, sometimes to pick out just the livers of snakes, because the liver is really high in protein. And sometimes they will just manage to pick out the liver of the snake and just leave the rest of the snake behind. So, you know, a lot of times people are thinking of snakes as predators, but don't forget, there's always a predator for a predator. In this case, it's the crow. All right, we're going to continue along. And I want to show you something that I saw for the first time today. And actually, Rachel too. You see, the other day when I was talking to Dr. Randy about woodchucks, he was talking to me about, in this area of the museum where we are right now, this diorama, this rye diorama, a muskrat. And I'm saying, muskrat? There's no muskrat in this area. And he described it to me. So today, when we had the special chance to come down here for this, Rachel and I were really looking for the muskrat. And oh my goodness, this just goes to show you, I mean, how many times you can come to the museum and discover something new, because I have worked here for many years and I never actually had seen this muskrat before. There is a muskrat in the water. So this is just under the water. If you can make it out, I know it's probably a little hard on the camera. It may look like just a little shadow, but when you come to the museum next weekend or after, be sure to come to this rye diorama, come right to the corner and see if you can find the muskrat that is actually swimming in the water. I was beyond excited this morning when we found this, and it just goes to show you can visit the museum many, many times and discover something new each time, even if you work here and you're here all the time. Now, those of you who are members know what we're going to enter next, right? Can anyone tell me in the chat, where are we going next that's dark? And the animal that lives in here starts with B. You got it, the bat cave. Okay, so it's gonna be dark in there. I will have a light once we get in there, but it's worth it, right? Because everyone misses the bat cave. I miss the bat cave too. So just bear with it, bear with us as it's a little dark. And we'll find my light, and I'll use my light to point out some of the bats here in the bat cave. So I know it's really dark right now. It's fairly bright. There we go. Awesome. Okay, guys, I'm pointing them out here. Here we are in the bat cave. Now, I should tell you, in our bat cave here at the museum, the bats are actually not real, not alive. They really look like they're real. They were made by both Betsy and Kathleen here at the museum, and they did a really great job, and they modeled it off of real bats, but they are not real, even if they look really, really realistic. But bats here in Manitoba, this diorama represents the limestone caves that bats hibernate in. And then in the spring, they will wake up and they will maybe fly out that hole and hunt their very favorite food. Before I talk about their favorite food, I want to show you these really cute. They're so snuggled up nicely. That's what they do, right? They hang upside down and they're snuggled up nicely for warmth, to stay warm, and they hibernate together. And most of you probably know that bats are also nocturnal, right? They sleep during the day, they come out and hunt at night. So that's why they like it dark and nice and cozy here in the limestone caves. But bats are friends here in Manitoba. In Manitoba, their favorite food is what comes out and makes us itchy in the summertime, mosquitoes. Mosquitoes make up quite a large part of their diet, a lot of them, and other insects as well, but a lot of mosquitoes. So bats are our friends. Remember that. They are absolutely our friends here in Manitoba. Awesome. So I'm going to turn on my light now. We're going to leave the bat cave and we're going to take another secret door. This secret door takes us from the bat cave to another ecosystem, which is the one that we live in, the prairie. Again, as we've been walking, if you notice at some points we have some, almost looks like a little construction around. It's because we're busy building a new gallery, the Prairie Gallery, which is extremely exciting. Because we're closed today, you know, we've got some work going on, and we're also getting ready for opening for all you folks for next weekend. So we may see some different things around today, but this diorama is representing the prairies. So the prairies is the natural ecosystem where Winnipeg is located, and the prairies is one of the most endangered ecosystems in Canada, specifically the tall grass prairies. But this diorama is showing prairie, if you can imagine, sort of before towns and cities were built, because at one point, most of the land and the prairies were plowed up, either for farmland, changing to food crops, or to make towns and cities. So there is less than 1% left of tall grass prairie. But I'll just point out this animal, right, that's in the diorama. This is the pronghorn antelope. And pronghorn antelopes are very fast. They are the world's second fastest animal. Once again, if it's okay, I'm going to ask who here can tell me in the chat, what is the world's fastest running animal? Gotta have some kids there that know that, just know it. What's the fastest running animal? Of the cheetah, got it, good job. So this is number 2, but this is Canada's fastest running animal, the pronghorn antelope. They can go as fast as a highway car. They can go extremely fast. Now, we used to have pronghorn antelope in Manitoba, but we don't anymore. They are what's called extirpated. That means we used to be part of the range here, but there simply isn't the prairie, the wild spaces for them to live, but they are not extinct. You can still find pronghorn in places like Alberta and in places like Montana, the United States. So they're not an extinct animal. If you really, really, really want to see a real live one, they do have them at the Assiniboine Park Zoo. But when I visit them there, they do not run because they're kind of in one spot. So they're just a super cool animal. But again, just noting the place that we live and noting that the plants too that are native to our area are awesome, strong plants. Some of them you can plant in your garden even. So that's pretty amazing. So that will bring us sort of to the end of our adventure, our tour portion. I will take time, of course, for questions. Before I take questions though, I just want to thank you all so much for joining us here today. This is honestly so much fun for me. And it was really, really fun to get like your questions and your requests. I was like so excited to receive those. So thank you. That just made my job easy, because then I'm like, oh, I get to see my favorites and their favorites, and it was so awesome. So yeah, if there's any questions at all you guys want to ask or anything at all, feel free.
Hey, Shauna, thank you so much. That was awesome. We do have a question. So what is your favorite part of taking people on in-person or virtual tours?
Oh my goodness. Well, I have to say, like, my favorite things is talking about animals and plants, like natural history. So with virtual tours so far, I still love, just like in person, I love interacting with people, getting to know what their favorite things are. And every question that I get, like, I don't know everything. I have learned everything from either my own learning and loving of animals, but from working here at the museum, I learn something every program I do. So whether that be a tour or whether that be, I learned so many things from kids. And if I don't know an answer, I go look it up. So I'd say the virtual tours, is more new to me, but I'm loving it so far because I can still interact with people. Even getting, like I said, your questions via the registration was awesome for me. So I think it's being with people.
Shauna, so people want to
Yes.
know if you were a teacher, and they also want to know if you have another song for us.
They want more songs, Rachel. I do actually have a lot more songs, but I'm not gonna, I don't know if I'm gonna sing them now. I will tell you that, so I have a degree in environmental science, so I studied animals and plants at university a very long time ago, but I have worked here at the Manitoba Museum for quite a while, and I've worked at other places too. So the Vancouver Aquarium, the Assiniboine Park Zoo over many, many years. So I've always loved teaching about animals. It's been one of my favorite things, or teaching about the natural world. That song, I don't know. It's just, I hope that Steffi's out there because I also just love singing and things like that. So I'm not gonna have, I don't have any more songs ready right now to share with you, but I hope you liked it. And I really do love woodchucks. So you can all write your own songs. I encourage you. When you go out and see nature, why not? It's lots of fun. Any other questions?
I think that's the last of the questions, and here's Caitlin.
Well, I just want to say thank you for joining us for Animal Adventures Live. I want to thank our tour guide, Shauna, for this fun and fascinating tour about animals in Manitoba. We will be sending you out answers to the scavenger hunt sometime next week, so stay tuned. And thank you to our members for logging in and viewing this at home. In the future, we're looking to bring more events like these into your homes. We also look forward to seeing you on June 6th and 7th for the Manitoba Museum members opening weekend. Enjoy your Sunday and goodbye.